are in the field of human resources are truly blessed, because I believe that this is a noble profession, and people who are in that function recognize it to be thankless. And I've always believed that human resource professionals actually are alchemists. They are in the business of creating, higher order metals in that sense. And I think that's where finance and technology truly comes in. For us, they are fantastic enablers to have on our side who can make a difference to what we do every day. In changing times, and most of you are familiar with the trends around, it gets even more important that you need to understand what can't be measured. And to do that, you need to know what you can measure. So it's actually a blend between the art and science, and I think this profession really moves in the direction. So when you talk of HR technology, you're essentially talking of being able to look at global trends, societal trends, individual trends, and still being able to do what Prahlad always used to talk of, N equals 1. The ability to reach a person one by one, even if there are 50,000 customers on the outside, is what is said in his book on innovation. I think that's true. And talking of technology, I think we have had wonderful speeches, and I was looking at the smartphone, for instance, or the iPad. If you go back to what Matt Ridley used to talk of regarding innovation, the collective wisdom of people sitting in this room itself is enough to spark a new revolution. Because knowledge has never progressed on an individual basis. It has progressed as a collective, that we build on each other. And that's the reason why I have such a fantastic panel. And I'm delighted to actually take it back to them and ask a very simple question, saying, what is it in your mind is the role of HR in current times? So we could start with Srikanth.
So I think in just 2 words, employee experience.
I think it's powerful. In fact, the earlier speaker referred to experiences.
Yeah.
China?
I think the role of HR is the business of human beings.
This almost goes back to humanity and anthropology to that level.
Exactly.
So absolutely, China.
In my view, the essence of HR does not change. Looking into the future, it only gets richer because of the technology which is there before us, and how we make it a more connected world, how we make it into a more inclusive world, how we make it into a more fair world in an organization context will continue to be the role of HR, which will only get helped and enabled with what we have before us in terms of the technology which presents as an opportunity.
In my view, it is making the company, the organization effective and making it future ready while retaining the soul of the organization.
So let me, I think each one of you here, and maybe there is a small piece of advice for Esther if she's around, that I think in the next panel discussion you should have a couple of people who are half our age.
Yes.
I think that will add to the flavor, nothing to do with, I'm equally old, but it's a fervent request, humbly. So if I go back to, so when I was looking at either side, experience goes beyond 3 decades. So given the rich vein of experience you have, Gajen, when was the first time you were impacted by technology as an HR professional, and how?
We started working more and more with the computers and less with the predecessors of the computers. So that's where I realized, although I still see in all this age of apps and gamifications, etc., I have even seen, and there's no shame in saying that, some of the colleagues even today printing out the mail, writing a comment on that, scanning it and sending it back. So that's the world I live in, because all of them are from the services side and I'm from the manufacturing side, where the legacies are still very strong. They haven't gone away yet.
So we've seen it unfolding, but my first experience, it goes back to our Excel days, and the first time when we saw a PC. And we had a course at that point in time, and little did we know what to actually do with that box, right? And and it was interesting to see that in a short period of time, and that's something which all of us have experienced in our own lifespan, how something which was seen as a novel, something very, very futuristic, has completely taken over everything which we do. And that is something which is to be noted with regard to any disruption, any technology disruptor, how it becomes ubiquitous, how it becomes scalable, and it becomes all pervasive. And little later, of course, when one got into the organization fold, I still remember the first time when we experienced email, and there used to be a lady colleague of ours who used to actually have one Unix server, and we would actually pass on our inter-office memos. These used to be the blue sheets, where we would write our mails, internal mails, and we'll hand over to the lady. And she will type it out as an email, and just like Gajendra mentioned, someone at the other end will read it, take a printout, and then pass it on to the manager.
Yeah, I think back to my early days as an employee, and the first HR tech that touched my life, that still touches all of our lives, was payroll. It was probably the first outsourced, maybe to finance, or maybe to another organization, normal, everyday HR process that touched every employee. And I remember my paycheck never being right, my vacation never being calculated correctly. And so certainly we've come a long way in that perspective. And all the other things that have been added to the basics of the everyday, how do we interact with our people? Your point of whether we have 10 employees or 50,000 employees, how does technology help us interact with each employee one-to-one, not 1 to 50,000? And I think that's our huge opportunity now with the digitalization in the world, is we have an opportunity to choose to use technology, particularly social technology, to build greater bonds of human connection as opposed to lesser bonds of human connection. It's about the connections. And I'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow in my session. But technology has the real opportunity, I think, to make our cultures more human, more personal, as opposed to more robotic and less personal.
Most intense personal encounter with technology was about 20 years back when the mobile phones came, and exactly the same experience. You felt like a big liberation and a eureka moment that you had the world in your palm. I think after that, of course, several other such eureka moments, one after the other, whether it's the Hotmail, whether it's the Facebook and LinkedIn and so on. And today I think it's about every day there's about a new experience when you're talking of technology.
Maybe the only point which I would like to add here is, unlike in the previous world we lived in, we had a choice, right? Whether to get onto it or not get onto it, whether to have a mobile phone, rest with the landline phone. But in today's times we live in, there are no bystanders. Everyone in some way or the other is impacted and is a participant in that process. And that's a change. And it will only get more intense as we go forward.
Gilmore and Pine in 1972 talked about the experience economy, where they said it's no longer a world of commodities, it's no longer a world of products, no longer a world of services, but we are moving to a stage where experiences will define how customers will respond, whether it's external or internal. So when you look at the power of technology and what it is doing in terms of enabling HR, what are the 2-3 things that you see which are going to transform the way HR practitioners will function tomorrow?
So I think we don't have to reinvent the equation for HR and technology. There are several other equations which have been proven and we have to shamelessly copy. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about the Uber and Ola, what they have done. Yeah. So I think they have really given a brand new kind of option to the people, they have, to the consumers in terms of they made life so simple in terms of transport. Or the mobile phone itself. The mobile phone itself means the world to so many people. Or Amazon and Flipkart, you got so many options to buy, and all of a sudden, you can make your choice, you feel like the king, and so on. So I think if you had to just copy from all these success stories, itself, I think it brings home the truth of the HR technology equation, which is, how do you create a pull effect? How do you give power in the hands of the employee? How do you give options to the employee? How do you really make it a crowdsourcing to happen in a natural way and so on? And if I were to say, if we have to tailor make it for HR, all this so that we don't lose the human element part of it, I would say, number one, make it self-help. How do you really make it possible for the employee to have self? And number two, use technology to give a simulated experience. And I think that's what can really transform the mind of the employee.
I think you're exactly right. And I do also think there's a step before we can really impact the employee experience in a meaningful way. We have to impact the relationships that we have with our employees. And one of the things that I see starting to happen, Josh showed us lots of logos of all kinds of interesting solutions and applications, many of which are so far outside the bounds of what has been a traditional employer-employee relationship, wellness, family solutions. As we start more and more to relate to our employees as 24-hour-a-day human beings, as opposed to skill sets that clock in at 8 and clock out at 5, and recognize that they have elderly parents with health issues, they have children with educational issues, they have commitments in their communities, in their faith communities, in the things that make them passionate about living. And if we can begin to create those one-to-one, not 1 to 50,000, relationships with our employees that acknowledge they are more than a set of skills, and that what really drives them to us as employers is the need to create meaning and to match the purpose in their life.
In my view, it's very different, and I come from my industry point of view. So when it comes to employees, in terms of their experiences, what has been said is right. On the other hand, there is also a lot of, I should say, fear. Because in our industry, for example, and in our own company, if I look 5 years down the line, technology, automation, robotization, artificial intelligence coming into all this
And we have a
is impacting so much that in 5 years, I may need not even half the people that I have for twice the output that we have today. And that puts a huge pressure on us. If we want to change the workforce profile, our people come back and say that, okay, we are prepared to step away, but what about our next generation, their employment? And I'm not able to give any answer to that. So that's a huge challenge, huge paradox that we face. On one hand, till the time they are employees, their experiences are going to be very different. It has started becoming very different. See, till now what was happening, the physical jobs were getting automated. With artificial intelligence, and now we are talking about human level artificial intelligence, even those jobs are getting automated, which were till 3-4 years ago considered as non-automatable. So even that is changing. So it's going to create also a lot of social issues in my view, which also I think we have the responsibility to think about how to deal with that.
Pratik, I take the same line. Coming back to you, again, in your case, you have the advantage of having been steeped in technology on one hand and being a leader for HR for so many years. So which are the 2-3 real enablers that you believe can actually alter the landscape?
So I think while we have been speaking about technology and there's so much technology talk in HR, I think we have just scratched the surface, right? Let's talk about our group, which is almost about 170,000 plus employees. Think about number of transactions on a daily basis employees do. It has a multiplier effect. There is so much of information which is lying out there from where you can possibly draw insights to understand about their preferences, what ticks, what doesn't, what's working, what's broken in a real-time basis. And it's not merely to understand and know about it, but the sagacity at the leadership level to be able to do something about it, right? Otherwise, one can actually get lost in this world of immense data which is out there and not knowing how to actually navigate through that. And to me, the biggest gain of this is just to be able to understand your employee in a far richer manner than what you could do earlier, right? And I do not think we are able to actually do that. How do we draw wisdom, insight from the data which is out there to be able to understand your employees better, to be able to understand their preferences better, to be able to understand their reactions better, and to customize our programs, our policies accordingly. While on one hand we hear about the attrition algorithm and the recruitment algorithm and the platforms around careers and how we can actually make it, but as I mentioned, we have yet not even looked beneath what is there on the top.
Could you share a couple of areas where you will never use technology? Ever?
I do believe that any situation, any opportunity which calls for human understanding, human interaction, social skills, those will remain to be the areas where us as individuals, us as human beings, will continue to play. And let me just link it back to what Gajendra spoke about. Yes, it's a reality that a lot of jobs are likely to get automated, and it need not only be in the back office kind of roles or those which are more labor intensive, even in knowledge intensive area we are beginning to actually see that. Which is going to actually have a big challenge, big learning challenge for organizations, how to provide opportunities for people to just refresh their skills and get more ready as the world around them begins to evolve, right? But what is going to remain predominant is going to be the need to have the right kind of social skills, right kind of interaction skills, which people need to work on themselves, and in some manner organizations will need to enable it as well.
Srikanth, would you like to pick that?
Yeah, I think just building again on what Pratik said. So let's for a moment assume that AI does a super efficient job of sifting through thousands and millions of applications, let's say, CVs and so on, and really pulls out the ones who your organization is dying to recruit, dying to hire, and these are the real gems out there in the market and the organization needs them. I think so the AI will come up to that stage. But finally, when you really have to have a conversation with the person and say, is this person going to be a culturally aligned person to the culture of the company? Is he culturally fit for the company? Is he or she really going to demonstrate the competencies that we're expecting in terms of collaborative and so on and so forth? Those are things which currently, I would say AI is probably still not transcended. It's still the human mind which grapples with these issues. But you never know. In this forum, I think I would rather reserve my comment and say, at this point of time, you don't know.
I think there becomes a new practice in HR that we are seeing, and it's data science, it's data analytics, it's making sense of all the data that we have, that we've collected for years and years and years, that we've done nothing with. So we have on our table now data that we're not making sense of yet, much less being able to prepare and plan for all the data, additional data we're going to be getting. So I think there's a unique opportunity for HR to build skills, to build competencies, and create influence and strategic impact in a way that we haven't before through really data science, right? Human element of leadership. We can't outsource ethics to AI. We can't outsource trustworthy, ethical, values-based cultures to technology, digitization, and AI. And so, as we're making decisions that take employee bases from 60,000 to 60 because of technology across the board, I agree with you. That's coming, and probably faster than we think. We need leaders who are clear on values, who are clear on ethics, who are absolutely trustworthy, who tell the truth, who are personal, who can have conversations with employees at all levels of the organization, 1-to-1 or 1 to 50,000, and continue to build the trust in the future of the organization. So it's kind of a dichotomy of two things. We have to get much better at data and at science, but at the same time, we have to be in that role to help the C-suite of the organization become even more trustworthy, even more ethical, even more values focused.
I think the value system of the leadership, that's something I fully agree and I subscribe to that. But actually in any kind of transaction, it's very difficult today to think of something which will not get automated, which will not get seriously impacted by technology today. It's very difficult to think about that actually.